And we are live. I'll give it a moment to actually stop being derpy and not cut me off midway through a sentence or something.
It's only done that every time.
Yeah, only every single time. So I think it's been enough. Welcome to Sundays with Souls, number 7. Today is September 4th, 2016. At least last I checked. I don't really know anymore. So join with me today. Actually, no, I was literally going to say, I was I'm so in the rhythm. Great start. I'm so in the rhythm of introducing us. Ike, introduce yourself, damn it.
So I'm Mikey Doherty. I am the Solus Chief Bossman, is my current title today.
Hmm.
I just picked him randomly. I'm also joined by Josh, who is our right-hand man in Solus, and
Hi.
has a cracking pair of headphones. Over to you.
Yeah. So just carrying on. On Friday, we were happy to start our Solus Mystery Hackfest with a big announcement that builds upon the emphasizing that we did in the previous Sundays with not Sundays with Solus, this week in Solus. Too many Solus things.
Mm.
That we don't really believe in sort of a one size fits all approach, especially when it comes to some things that IKEA is going to elaborate on with the big announcement that we made on Friday. So why don't you hit it off?
Have you found your soulmate?
No.
So I've been looking for an excuse to say that. So in Solus, we now offer the Mate desktop. Um, we will also be offering a Solus Mate ISO. So people are probably going, Ike, you're mad. What are you doing? Which is probably a legitimate question at this point. So allow me to explainify my brain process. They're real legitimate words. So with Solus, the a lot of the work that goes into it is in the operating system itself. Like that's the core stack work, the optimizations, the integration. Like that is at the operating system level. We're we know because we're kind of pragmatic that way that budgie isn't for everyone. And don't panic, budgie is still like our primary thing.
Of
Budgie,
course.
they go hand in hand, right? Um, but some people would like the alternatives. They would like the option. Some people like the more traditional approach, which is absolutely fine. And we've got plenty of experience in the GTK field. Myself, I've got plenty of experience in the GNOME 2 era software as well. So integration of it is very, very, very simple. So that's kind of what we did during the Mystery Hackfest. We kept it to the very last minute because it wasn't something we wanted to leak and then cause some form of a panic. People go, why are they using this thing? It's like, no, we have the reasons for this. We have the
Right.
reasons.
It was something that we wouldn't be able to elaborate extensively in a short Google Plus post right before the Hackfest. So it was something we really had to sit down and not only talk about, but show people how we are going to implement it, how we are going to integrate it.
Hmm.
And by we, of course, I mean IKEA because I was off doing my own stuff. So, um, but upon announcing that you were going to introduce Mate and you're going to have a dedicated Mate ISO, that really sort of opened the floodgates to a lot of other inquiries as
Hmm.
to supporting other desktop environments. And I personally won't mention any particular ones.
Oh well.
And I'll leave it up to you to sort of elaborate on sort of where we are in terms of supporting other desktop environments, our review on it, and so on.
So some of the ones that have been requested, like the more lightweight ones, we don't not not really such an issue because they're invariably one or two packages or something. That's not an issue. One that's coming up a bit now is XFCE, which my position on XFCE is it's incredibly slow moving. And Solus, the velocity that Solus moves, XFCE can't keep up with. And I don't find that XFCE offers anything that we can achieve with the Mate or Budgie versions of Solus. So, yeah. And I mean, it took them a very long time to even finally decide we're going to use GTK free after infighting over QT. So, it's not in our interest to support XFCE and Solus at all. Um, we've extended that bridge once before. Another request is for Cinnamon. And as I've explained before, well, one, I don't see anything that Cinnamon can offer that we couldn't do ourselves anyway. Two, Cinnamon is tied to the leg of the Linux Mint project. We've seen projects before have problems in the past where Linux Mint just wouldn't keep up with the updates and wouldn't make upstream changes. Um, which kind of leads into the next project as well, which is Pantheon, which is very much the same situation. And again, it's we've had problems before. So Pantheon Terminal is a good example. We was carrying patches for that for 7 months maybe because they refused to take any changes upstream, and then once after having the patch, then go and making the change anyway. It's not the kind of upstream we want to work with in terms of providing a large set of software. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not
if we're having that sort of situation with something as basic as a terminal,
I mean, that's trivial stuff that was. So
right, then we have to look at the bigger picture of providing an entire desktop environment and ecosystem around that.
yeah.
And if
So
we're having trouble with a terminal, I'm not really sure we want to find out how much trouble or issues we're going to have
mm,
with integrating with upstream
yeah.
and so on with Pantheon.
And then there's the whole issue with releases and Launchpad and tarbos,
Mm.
all that stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, there's other things that could be requested that I haven't yet seen requested. I've seen a request for OpenBox. Again, it's just a window manager. If it tickles your fancy, then go for it, right? Um, ones that haven't been requested, but I'll explain now and put them down now. Unity, no, absolutely no go. It's just again, it's tied to the leg of Ubuntu, right? We will not be supporting the mirror or mirror display stack, however you say it in Solus. We will support an Xorg and Wayland, so we won't be having that in there. And again, it's not within the interest of the project because we're not interested in convergence in that respect. Um, Plasma slash KDE. It's been asked about a couple of times before. Honestly, we're GTK people. That's where our domain lies. That's what we're good at. So something like Mate, super simple to adopt. Super simple. What am I now? Like a valley girl? Anyway, super simple. Damn it! I just said it straight again. It's like really, really easy to adopt. There we go now. Um, I've no interest in KDE Plasma. I don't want to be patching it because I think I hate C++. And it wouldn't be fair on anyone using said environment in Solus at all because it needs someone to integrate it, someone who actually cares about it in the slightest. And
Which is neither
nothing,
of us, that's for sure.
yeah, and nothing goes into Solus properly unless it's actually integrated. Which is, I guess, where I hand over to you.
Yeah, so I guess the way of me sort of transitioning is talking about sort of the power users. So a little bit of backstory was with i3, which is what I'll be talking about, is I had announced that on This Week in Solus. But the backstory was I actually thought I had the okay from IT to do that. So I landed it. And then sort of like the cat's out of the bag. Okay, well, let's just move on to doing Mate now, since initially it's going to be like, let's tackle both of those at the same time. But anyways, so with us sort of shooting down a few options, that isn't to say we aren't going to have a multitude of options for environments that really fit with your workflow. For instance, I've been continuously improving the integration of i3 into Solus and making sure that things like our software center and i3 properly work. And apparently that was an issue with me needing to add GNOME Polkit. So a few things that I've done this week for improving it is we now ensure the Network Manager applet launches alongside i3. So basically that allows you to configure your networking via the i3 bar rather than having to launch GCC, which is GNOME Control Center, not to be confused with the compiler. A volume change sound is now played when you actually change it, which is helpful because you actually kind of want to know if that's working or not without having to open up like a music editor, music player or something and testing through that. Additionally, some default styling has been implemented. We use more of the Solus blue now for the active workspace indicator, and we use the darker Arc GDK theming color for the status bar, and it's also positioned up top now, and that falls more in line with sort of how the default budgie looks, just to keep things a bit more consistent. And these are things you could always change in your i3 config And chances are, if you're running i3, you're competent enough to know how to change your i3 like your i3 configuration. So we have also received some work from Crash via the community. He stepped up and provided some configuration options to ensure that the preference, popover, and task dialog windows are actually floating up top. So you won't have that going into its own tile, which could be quite frustrating. And today I'll be working on landing BSPWM because that's something that's been requested alongside Awesome, but I'm sort of tackling this one at a time. And we've also received some third-party love, but I will let Ike talk about that.
Yeah, so our very beloved Brian, also known as Data Drake, has been landing a lot of stuff in our repo. So recently we got I don't know how to pronounce that. Clion, which is like a CLI
Cleon
helper app, right?
something?
Data Grip, IDEA, like IDEA, Java IDE, PHP Storm, PyCharm, RubyMine, and WebStorm. And I know that was a complete pain in the ass for him. So like,
Yeah,
major
this
props for
isn't
that.
third party too. This is even
Yeah, it's major
yeah.
props kind of stuff. That so.
Yeah.
Which was probably made easier because recently I rebuilt our Java package. So people who were having problems with that, they couldn't build like the Android Studio, or I think our Studio was one as well. But
Yep.
there was a couple of things that were completely blocked. So our Java package has now been rebootstrapped. It's completely self-hosting now. Like we've got rid of the tools.jar issue. So and that's like the latest, the latest, the latest of I've not slept. Okay, the, the latest OpenJDK 8 package. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I suppose that's on to the crazies now. What crazy stuff have I done lately? I started a new project today. I have a habit of that.
Another one. What? No
I
way.
know, I know. So the one I started this morning is called Mate Notification Theme Solus. Jimmy guesses what that does. So the where we're integrating like for the Mate experience, the idea is when we put out the ISO for Solus 1.2.1, it is happening. Stop panicking. It will get there. They're just gotta get things right. So we're going to be putting out two ISOs. One of them is going to be the normal one, which we call primary, which is the one you're used to, obviously with all the fixes, all the changes, all the awesome. Um, then there's also going to be the Mate edition. So certain things kind of look fugly. Most specifically, the notifications. It kind of reminds me of the XFCE notification style, and I'm not a big fan of it. So I found out that you can create your own theme engine for it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a look at that. And essentially, I'm gonna rip out the arc styling and port that over to C inside the new repo, which will give notifications that are very similar to the existing budgie notifications. So just for that extra little bit of sexy schnaz going on there. We started another project as well. I do this. This one is called Linux Driver Management, which is something I posted about up on Google Plus.
I wonder what
So
that one does.
this one is for ordering from Domino's. It's absolutely great. Like you get no food and you still lose money. It's
Oh,
amazing.
but you actually get to manage the Domino's driver. That makes sense. And you do it from Linux, so it's the Linux driver management.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's all like a proper top-down isometric view, and you watch them crash in real time. It's great. The cats hate it, but what can you do? So yeah, Linux driver management manages drivers. Funny enough, so the Optimus situation, Autobots, that kind of thing. It kind of sucks, and we've been evaluating some of the options to bring into Solus, and it was like, well, they all kind of suck, or they're tied to the leg of some project. So you've got Jockey, which is now Ubuntu Drivers Common, which provides GPU Manager, is all like so deeply tied to Ubuntu. It calls out a D package, wants the i386 packages from Debian. It wants to use update alternatives. It's using for their multi-arch library paths. It's a horror show. So figured we'd completely redo the driver manager. Well, not redo, like fully implement, because it's not really a redo. It's a natural progression. So it's folding in our GL driver switch package and things like that. So at the moment when you install a driver package in Solus, you get the post install bit says, okay, let's run NVIDIA X config or something. But it turns out NVIDIA Xconfig is really stupid, and it only looks for the NVIDIA driver. And you would think, coming from NVIDIA with their Optimus technology, that it would actually look for it. But no, it doesn't. That's going to turn into a really long rant, which we won't go into. So basically, I'm making something that does do all the detection, will do all the configuration for you, enable you to dynamically enable and disable it. And after the phase one of that is done, we'll then look at the actual power management side of it, as in on-demand graphics performance from there. And that, being a Solus project, is an agnostic project, and we want others involved in that. That falls under the same umbrella as things like Linux Steam integration, stuff like that, for making Linux more better for to gamings. Yeah.
And also, it would help for not killing my battery life by using the AMD GPU inside rather than the APU.
Yeah, I mean my Optimus laptop here gets like a whopping 40 minutes battery life with the NVIDIA enabled.
Yeah, it sounds like mine.
Yeah, so I mean we need to fix that. Oh, with that, so there's a reason for the timing, and there's a reason it's taken until now, until start of the new project. In in Git of Xorg server, which will be the next release, it has revised Prime support, which in combination with the 370 series of NVIDIA drivers will offer completely tear-free playback performance, whatever you want to call it, from an Optimus device, even if it's a completely muxless system. So even if you haven't got a hardware switch, because basically the way Optimus works is the NVIDIA is what they call a floating GPU. It's not connected to a thing. It's only connected to the onboard Intel graphics, which in turn is then connected to the LCD panel on the onboard. So it's the only one with an actual wired output. So they changed it all now, so you'll actually get tear-free graphics, which is going to be amazing. And if it's going in Solus, it's gotta be nice. So we'll actually be shipping with tear-free Optimus support like within the next few weeks, which would be
Man, that's awesome.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, even if I have to go ninja it and like steal some stuff out of Git and get some patches, I don't care. We're gonna do it.
Well, it's not like you've never land patches for things before. I'm not looking at you, Colonel.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and even like with our Mazalib, we was running like the 12.0 RC4, just to get all the updated Skylake support and things like that. Yeah. And a shout out to our Patreon people, like our patrons. It sounds weird saying patrons. Oh, patron. Oh, that makes sense now. Yeah, our Patreon people. We hit 500 bucks today. Thank you very much. We love you lots and lots. And that was creepy as all hell.
Let's not ever do that again, okay?
No, so what I'm going to do before we do put out the next release, I'm going to be giving you access to the Mate ISO. I'll also put another like normal primary ISO up there, so you can test out like installing the stable Mate version of Solus before everybody else, because you're special and we love you, and you should get rewards.
Nice.
Hashtag no creep.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to this Sundays with Souls. Our next one will be, I believe, on the 18th of September, and assuming we aren't recuperating from 2 days of Hackfest, and I keep pulling another all-nighter because he's crazy, there will likely be an event up for you to subscribe to and get a notification, as well as actually figure out when we're going to be starting Sundays with Souls, because this one was like, yeah, I'm going to schedule it. I have to schedule it for 3 minutes from now. So I actually have the option to invite you in before going live. So it was much more impromptu this time around. So I apologize for that. But
Before you die, because I know where you're going with this, right? Before you die, does anyone who's now in Solus chat in the IRC actually have some questions? Because I see some things that have been missing. So I'm just going
right.
to give those guys a few seconds, and I'm just going to sit here and chillax. And yeah, I know I can't speak proper. Uh, Canadian Bacon says, I love how. Wait, I'm not going to be able to say that anyway, am I? Like, if you're saying I pronounce one word like the other, I'm not going to be able to say the thing that I don't pronounce. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what I mean.
One person's like 1.2, 1.5 speed to catch up with live. Nice.
That must be comical. Yeah, I'm going to give it another few seconds. It's Clyon Sea Lion. Oh!
Okay.
When
That
does the
makes
ISO
sense.
with full disk encryption is coming?
That's
Uh,
1.2.1.
Yeah, you just confused the hell out of me there. So, hello, Aki. Yeah, that'll be 1.2.1. For that stuff, I've been adding some fixes to our Git version of the installer, which I've got to do for the Mate stuff as well. Um, so we're now defaulting to trim on SSD, which we've tentatively kept disabled in the past. And I will actually check with it because I did some things to the stuff, and it
And
was great.
I need to give you a name for a read ahead project.
Yeah, so explicitly enable trim on SSD for the Budapest. We also ensure FSCK is also uh, permanently enabled for the install. So, like if it's a home partition, we set bit 2 over it's set bit 1, and we also enable trim for home partitions on an SSD as well.
And
Uh,
plus, I believe the Goofy Boot fix has landed as well a while back, which should arrive in
mhm,
121,
yeah,
as well as the unstable images. So
yeah. Uh, will it be targeting any over computing devices in the future? I'm not going to say no. Uh, to be blunt with you, I'm just not going to say no there. Ones I'm really not interested in. People keep asking me this. Will you support the Raspberry Pi? For the 4 people out there who have asked me, you you represent the entire market demand for a Solus on a Raspberry Pi, and something like Budgie would be too heavy on there for a start. You would need it. It'd have to be Wayland to go on there because the X drivers on like the RPi 2 especially suck, like really suck. So you wouldn't want it on there, and it's essentially a maker board. It's the maker market, and Solus is not for the maker market. For us, we want to be on desktops, which includes laptops. For those who were confused earlier, that's also laptops. Um, People have asked, will it be on mobile phones in future? I've no interest in mobile
no,
phones myself. I've
no, no, no.
honestly I really no, no, just no interest in that. I mean, ARM support is just it's a downward spiral because and hear me out. So with x86 64, that's all you target, and we do like a generic across those, right? But then like when you do the for ARM, it's like what version of ARM? Is it the soft
RV4,
API or is it the hard
RV6.
API? Is it Flow? And it's like so you'd probably get 2 or 3 years out of each version of Pi. And then you would have to have a new architecture as well. It's like, oh, a new Chromebook come out and it's got this and I want it then and there. It's like at this point I'm just gonna tell you to buy a new laptop because there's just not the demand on it. Like for us to justify it, we need to be able to run a builder all the time. It has to be running 24 hours a day. Because if we deploy a build, say there's a security issue, we need to be able to deploy that immediately, and it needs to go out on the builds. It needs to be out in all architectures, and we need to be able to do a sync to Shannon basically that day, so people get the updates immediately.
Yeah, I mean, we would, in all likelihood, need dedicated infrastructure for each architecture we're targeting. Yeah.
So you need dedicated repos for each architecture, which we have for the x86-64 stuff. You would then need it for all of the, say, ARM version, blah, 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 one. You then need a builder to be running for that all the time as well. And so, I mean, for each architecture you add, you're not really doubling your demand. It's exponential because say we have 1,000 packages today, and then we say, well, we're going to rebuild all of these now for ARM, and we have 2,000 packages. Uh, then you kind of don't because every time you add a package, it's then another two, it's another two, it's another two going out of them. So you haven't really doubled it. You started an exponential graph. There has to be demand for that, and right now
And
I
we just
don't see
have
it.
not seen it,
And it's
aside
like
from
when people ask for the 32-bit, I often get emails nowadays. People are like, does Solus run on 32-bit? It's like, I'm sorry, but the last time we asked about this, I showed people the bootstrap I'd done of a 32-bit version of Solus, which I can make that like that. It's not a bother. We have the tooling to do it, right? It's no issue for me to do it with Solus. Like we have all that in place. But when I put out the survey, I think it was like 1% or even that of people said, "Oh yeah, want a 32-bit edition." So if there's demand, we do listen to the demand, but it has to be justified. It has to be justified for us to do it. Because otherwise, If we don't have the resources to do it, then we stretch ourselves thin on the things that are important to the majority of the users, and it's not fair on them.
Well, not only do we need to provide the infrastructure, but we also need to take the time to do validation on hardware as well. And
Which means
frankly,
investing
I
in more
have no
hardware as well.
interest in going out and buying an old 32-bit i686 laptop or desktop for testing. So,
So yeah, I
yeah.
guess that wouldn't be happening. And yeah, Soulmate would probably would have run well on those, but again, it's coming down to the demand. Like out of all the people who have Solus, how many of them actually want that then on top of a like a Raspberry Pi? And at the moment, we benefit immensely from the way that we optimize specifically for an architecture. Like that's a huge point to Solus. Like even down to the libraries we're optimizing the core of Solus. Which is the point I've been trying to get across, like when we're doing something like the Mate edition of Solus, which we're just calling Soulmate colloquially. It's not the
Right.
official name of it. Like that's like the cute name for it. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I think that sort of uh, paints the picture as to where we are, where we see we're going in the future, whether it be desktop environments or architecture or device support. So hopefully that will stop all the questions that we get
I mean,
probably.
it's also a testament to the power of the systems that we have in place. Because people get worried, it's like, will it not be a load of extra work maintaining the Mate? It was like, no, not really. I mean, if you watch the Hackfest, I went
You went from nothing to an
from
entire
nothing to a
session.
Mate ISO in one Hackfest. I mean, that's testament to our tooling and our infrastructure and the way that we can do that. So it's not a case of that. And again, the most important point I want to get driven home here, like before we sign off and everything, is Solus is not just about budgie. Solus is not about just about the front end. It's not just about UX. Solus is about providing an optimized operating system, and we're for the desktop. We didn't specify which desktop that would be. Now, in the beginning, we deliberately kept to one thing, and then we went along that path because while you're developing things and things are in flux, it's very hard to set anything in stone. But we got to that point now, like it's very well defined exactly what Solus is and how things all fit together. And I mean, I'm running the Mate desktop at the moment just to dog food it, right? It's rapid. Like it's rapid
Yeah.
because it benefits from everything that Solus has got, that everything Solus represents. Um, so yeah, I'm going to be testing Steam on here later on.
Yeah, and I may or may not have tested Steam on i3 on my laptop last night. For science, of course, not for any
Yeah.
other reasons. For
Oh, that's
science.
something else I should probably settle on. So people are probably aware of certain rumors or certain things that I've said lately about Budgie. And I feel I should probably clarify my position on that. You probably heard me bitching about Budgie WM a lot. So Budgie WM is the window manager component of Budgie, which is built on top of Mother, right? That's with T's, not D's. So that's the part that also provides the core compositor for GNOME Shell and things like that, which we're not GNOME Shell, just yeah. It's it's heavy now. Like it's a lot heavier than it used to be. So is GTK3 since 3.18 up to 3.20. That's got heavier. So we've spoken so many times about a denomification of Budgie. Now that's not me just lashing out at the gnome people. They're building their desktop. That what they're doing is absolutely great, right? And it's hard for them to provide agnostic solutions that would work for projects, which is fine. But it would spell the death of Budgie if we deluded ourselves into thinking that there was some form of long-term, well, longevity in sticking with the gnome stack. So to clarify on that, I'm talking specifically about Budgie itself, not the applications, not the points of integration, the things that all work, because we go for integration with everything. I mean, we've got i3 using the proper theme, right? So we go with integration across the board. There are some things coming up in GNOME 3.22, which means we will not be integrating this straight away. The control center is. in my humble opinion, hideous.
Yeah, let's not talk about that one.
It's not for me. To me, it looks very much like Android 4.5 or whatever the fuck it was, right? Sorry. Sorry. Whatever
He's
version
Irish.
of
He
Android.
can't help it. Okay, just forgive him.
I struggled so much, right? But it was Android 4 point whatever it was. It was on the tablets, and it's exactly the same UI, the way that it's all listed out on the side of the textual stuff within the little groups there, all the same, which not a fan. So for next version of Budgie, we're looking to kill. So once 1.2.1 and all that stuff is out, we got the Optimus stuff out. Then it's like, okay, we've done this OS cycle, and then we're gonna have a focus on Budgie cycle then as well. So I'll be hammering for all the Budgie stuff. We're dropping Mother because it's no good for us. Like we know that it impacts performance. We've proven this already in Solus. We can do more better. Um,
And there are other pain points like features we want in the window manager
we can't get the
don't
tiling in
exist
there.
because we leverage Mutter.
And all of if you was to look at the code of Budgie WM, get shit actual bricks because it has to pretend to be org.gnome.shell on the dbus name. It has to be that particular name. So we're pretending to be gnome shell just to get a load of functions and then proxy them off somewhere else. And it's far too heavy for what we need. Even for doing Wayland, it's completely useless to us because we can't get the Wayland compositor handle. Even if we do manage to find a way to get it upstream into Mother, it's not going to be until some release off in the future after 3.22, right? So we can't deploy it. Like we would have to wait months upon months upon months. And the way that the new GTK roadmap is going along, there's going to be 3 years between stable releases. That would murder Budgie. Like if we had to wait that long for the new features to come out for then to deploy it to other distros as well as Solus. So dropping Mother and won't be using GNOME Control Center 3.22 because it's an abomination as far as I'm concerned. And there's no guarantee that Budgie itself is going to remain GTK. And that does not mean Qt. It does not. It does not mean Enlightenment with the elementary toolkit or anything. None of them.
Which, for the record, switching over to Granite wouldn't help at all because they're
No,
still
no, I
based
don't
on
mean
GTK.
Granite. So I actually mean EFL and elementary, which is actually part of the Enlightenment project, which has been
Okay.
around for
I
like
thought you meant like
since the
elementary as
dawn of
in.
time. No, theirs is like some sort of wrapper up on top of GTK in Valor and whatever it
Right.
is. But yeah, confusing name thing. So yeah, like Budgie being GTK, it hurts it. Anyone who's watched my stream in the last couple of days, you've seen all that flickering going on up at the top, and then when I move my panel, it improves. And yeah, there's also a lot of hacks inside of Budgie to make sure that when you, so you know, like in Raven, I don't know if anyone remembers when you have like the little group on the right, and you'd have like the Empress applet and things like that. You could press the little button, don't you, and like it shrinks or expands each area inside Raven. We used to have a rendering bug with that where it would like have a line being drawn up and up and up and up and up like that across of Raven. Across of Raven? Well, learn to English. Anyway, there's a hack in there where we have to keep redrawing every element of the layer, every frame, because GTK doesn't do it properly, because it doesn't know how to deal with the layer transparency in it because of the box drawing model, which is not suitable for a desktop. So if we went with anything, it's looking very likely it'd be some form of GL backed or GL capable micro immediate mode UI, which are very, very fancy words, but myself and Data Drake have spoken about this. Like, we know where we're going with that. So, the idea is to make this smaller, make it lighter, make it more beautiful, um, and more modern. So, we want to make it completely sexy and to give you the best performance as well. So, bye bye, Mother. And that would help Wayland. Yeah, I'm all out of words.
Okay, well, I'll just say bye bye, Mutter, and bye bye to all of you that are watching the stream. And we will see you on the 18th. So bye, 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 bye,
I
bye,
got died.
bye,
I
bye,
got died. Bye bye.
bye, bye.